Vanden Plan. Vanden Plan. These are glorious, as is this entire vehicle. I am absolutely honored to get to drive this and show it to y'all today. Welcome back to Doug's Cars, y'all. 1986 Jaaaaag XJ6. And yes, that's the way the animal and the vehicle is pronounced in this country. I'm not gonna say it the British way because I'm not British. But look at this, it's glorious. It doesn't have like the pepper pots. These are actually off of an XJ6, the V12 or 6-cylinder coupe. But this is a 4-door sedan, obviously. It's got the leaper on the hood. And yeah, you could definitely be impaled on that. Despite it being a Vanden Plan, it actually has just an upgrader that doesn't have the fluted grille or the trim on the trunk lid, but it does have the fancy interior. I mean, look at that sumptuousness. Whoa, 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 what is that? Hold on a second. What is that? Hold on. We got to come around to this side because I got to see what is going on here. This, y'all, is why I'm driving this car today. Well, it's not the only reason. I've never driven one of these before, really. But this vehicle has actually been upgraded with a 4-speed manual out of an E-Type, an XKE, the beautiful 1960s coupe. And so despite the fact that it has the beautiful Vanden Plan interior, it also has a manual gearbox. And I will say, though, this steering wheel is really, I'm gonna call this a pepper pot steering wheel because it's got the holes in it. Really hot. You don't want to rest your hands here when you're driving on a very, very hot day here, like we have in Florida this afternoon. But I'm glad to be driving this car. It is just really nice in here. You've got the sizewell mats. You've got the neat little pouches in the front, like even my Lincoln has, and it's just glorious to sit behind the hood and see the beautiful, like, just bends in the metal that are above the headlights. You get to see the leaper on the hood. It's just a design that you don't see anymore. This is a real Jag design, of course, and it is just those 5-spoke starfish wheels really set it off. It's got period correct pinstriping down the side, and yeah, there's a couple of scratches here and there, but it's a driver, and that's what this is for, to be driven. And when you drive it, you can fill it up on either side. Actually, you have to fill it up on both sides because these actually are individual tanks. They're about 12 gallons each. So this actually carries quite a bit of fuel, but it also helps if you can park on either side of the pump you want, because you can fill it here or you can fill it over there, but it doesn't cross over like in an F-150. You have one or the other, but no, not both. Eagle-eyed amongst you earlier may have noticed something that I had in the front seat, but this vehicle actually has tray tables in the back. If I can get it to pull open with one hand, pull up and out, and there you go, because this is a Vanden Plan interior. But this is not a Rolls-Royce, so it does not get Grey Poupon. But what it does get is a package of mustard I got at lunch today that cost me nothing, and then I realized it's actually Monarch mustard, and it has a kitty on it. How cool is that? So this works because it's a British car. There's a Monarch there, and it's named after a kitty cat too. But this is just cool to have. I mean, they're beautifully inlaid. I mean, the work that it must have taken to do these, you know, it's just amazing. And of course, they didn't come on this vehicle initially. Neither did the mustard. While we're back here, let's take a look at the back seat, because I'm sitting back here, Doug DeMuro style. I actually kind of fit behind the seat where I was driving. I'll spare you more of my knees, but here we've actually got an air vent, rear window power, rear window power window controls, rear seat power window controls, and this button here that actually will move the seat forward for you, like in a fancy modern day luxury car. You can sit back here and stretch out and force the front seat passenger up. Well, actually, no, you shouldn't do this at home, kids. Don't do this if there's someone sitting up there. Mom or dad's gonna be really mad. But anyway, you can control the seat from the back, which again was not originally in this car. I believe these seats are actually out of the actually 40 model, which was the subsequent model to this. Brief bit of history on this car. This is a Series 3 XJ6. It is a 1986, and it is the 4.2 liter straight six that was also in an E-Type originally. But this has an E-Type, actual E-Type transmission that was from an E-Type originally. This engine was obviously built with this car. It is the factory engine. It has the Bosch L Jetronic And I was joking earlier, it's made under license by Lucas, which of course means it probably isn't as reliable as the Bosch. But I joked that the L, which actually stands for Luft or air because it has an airflow meter, it was one of the first systems to do that. The L stands for Lucas, but it doesn't. So they made it under license, but it's a similar system. I think some of the components are not compatible, but you're not going to be swapping them between a Mercedes and a Jag anyway, most likely. So they made about 122,000 Series 3 XJ6 sedans. And they didn't make the coupe. There's a beautiful coupe they made in the 70s with Series 2. But this was predominantly sold in the US. We didn't get the V12 in this model, other than one model year, and it was like an abbreviated model year. The Iran affair with fuel prices and everything, I guess they just didn't want to sell the V12 here. They only sold like, I saw car factoids put on Twitter, like either 60 or 30 or something like that. Anyway, you could still buy them in Canada. The entirety of the V12 in this car went into the early 90s, but not here. So we got the 6-cylinder. Obviously, we did not get a manual transmission. These vehicles in Europe, you could get a manual in, and they were 5 speeds, but this is a very stout transmission. It's from an E-Type. I mean, excellent transmission. So all that being said, this was a pretty common car as far as luxury cars go, and probably the most common British car you would see in the United States. Because 1986, we didn't get Land Rovers at all. Range Rovers were not imported legally until 87. And we didn't get regular Rovers at all. So yeah, this and the XJS Coupe you would see, that was it. I mean, you didn't see that many rolls unless you were in Miami Beach or Beverly Hills, right? So yeah, you would see these regularly in suburbia and places like that in the 80s, and they were in fancy TV shows like The Equalizer, which I think was a private detective, and he drove one of these, but he was British, so it was okay. Anyway, I'm gonna hop on the front now and show you all the very interesting dash, and I'm gonna try not to sit on this mustard packet because the owner Chris would probably be very upset with me. Let's hop up front and take a look. I don't know where this guy is going. Okay, he's bye. Okay, filming here. All right, so here you can see we've got a pretty good amount of gauges here. You got the unleaded fuel only, of course. There wouldn't have been an option for anything else. Coolant temp. You've got your speedo. This one has about 190,000 miles on it, and the owner says, but he's never rebuilt the engine, but although he's had this for more than 20 years, but he thinks it might have been rebuilt before he took possession of the car, and I would wager with that amount of miles, it might have been. A tach, voltmeter, and oil pressure. Now over here, you can set your speed. This is cruise control. You've got your light switch, which is rotatable and turns the lights on and off like that. You've got your ignition switch here, obviously. Here you have a trip computer, which I don't believe works. Oh, okay, so the clock is on. Let's see, do any of these other things work? Okay, average speed 9.6, so it does work. Fuel, 264 miles to empty, I guess is what that's reading. Good. Fuel release, oh no, that's low fuel. Oh, that's actually, you know what? That does switch the tanks. What am I thinking? Temperature for AC, which is not currently functional. Obviously, your rear defroster, Jaguar radio here, of course. And then these are ashtrays on either side because 1980s. Fan switch, overhead lights, and a glove box, which has no gloves in it because it's hot out. And down here, like in my old Range Rover, you've got your window switches, unlabeled, you know, just gotta kind of feel where they go. Now, it's getting pretty hot, so I'm gonna go for a ride and see if I can't cool down a bit. Let's see how she drives. I'm still not used to clutching this. Not bad. These had about 200 horsepower for the European model, but I'm not sure how much they had in the US model. They were choked a bit, of course, with much more stringent emissions controls here, certainly in the 1980s. But all that to say, I think that some of the controls on this car might have been removed, but I won't say anything more about that because there's no need to get the owner in trouble now, is there? It's a very warm day. I meant to do this earlier today and I just didn't have an opportunity. Life gets in the way sometimes. So because the air conditioning is not functional, you're gonna have to deal with the sweatness until I can get up to some speed here. I'm just cutting through town and you know, it's a low speed road, so I can't really get the breeze going yet. I can't even imagine how nice this would be with the AC on. It would just be such a pleasant place to be. But because it's not on, we get to hear the exhaust a little bit more, and it is a beautifully tuned straight six, and it just sounds good. And maybe hear it echoing off of some of the parked cars here. When we get out on the main drag and I can actually kind of give it some more gas, I hope we can hear it open up a bit more. It sounds so good. There's nothing like a sound of a straight six. I've owned lots of BMWs and they were all straight sixes for the most part. And because there was an electric one in there, and I had about a 4-cylinder one in there too. And I just love the sound of straight six. I grew up with a W124 Mercedes, which is what I learned to drive on as well. And obviously that was a 300E, which was a straight six as well. And man, loved it. Just a great noise. Now, of course, is it a V8? No, but not everybody can have a V8, and everybody needs a V8. Well, yeah, everybody at least should have a V8 at some point in their life. If they don't, they haven't had one. Install, that's good. Okay, that's the second. First time getting into third. I've been told third is a very tractable gear, and at the moment we're kind of in the historic district, so I'm not supposed to go over 30, which I'm not according to the speedo. But British gauge, I don't know, Smiths, Lucas, whatever. So who knows how correct that actually is. But this really drives smooth. I mean, this is from the era of cars with giant sidewalls, so you never have the thin tire issue of big 18, 19, 20-inch wheels, and then the sidewalls like this. So you have built-in suspension simply due to the fact that your tire sidewall is this high and contracts and expands as you're driving. This is a very pleasant place to be. These seats are cushy in the Tyler Hoover comfy car kind of way. I mean, he and I have a lot in common in cars that we like, and I appreciate a comfy, smooth, nice riding car. They don't all have to be Nürburgring winners, and a lot of modern cars are, and this design came out in the late 60s, really. Being an 86, this car has also had a couple of styling tweaks by Pininfarina, which, as you can imagine, made things better. Earlier models would have had vent windows here like older cars had, but this one was redesigned, I believe, for 1979, which became the Series 3, which we're in now. And yeah, into fourth. First time in fourth gear, 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. Very nice. It is only a 4-speed, so you can imagine too that gas mileage may not be what you'd think, but it apparently isn't that bad. The owner just drove it down here from Virginia and said he got really good mileage. Certainly better than I did when I drove back from Virginia in my Land Rover LR3, which gets about 19 or 20 on the highway. Now, of course, this doesn't have air conditioning, so not functioning air conditioning, so it doesn't have the parasitic draw of the compressor. But at the moment, it's very pleasant. I'm cooling off. I'm enjoying my drive. I'm hoping I can make this next light so that we can just keep on our way here. I want to go over the big bridge that goes onto Amelia Island, which is where I live, and loop around and come back, because it's a 55 zone. You can get up to nice speed, and it's a hill. It's Florida, right? There's not really that many hills, but I'd like to get up there and just check it out. And the owner said that was the best way to do it, and just give it some gas, see how it goes. And let's change lanes here, because I'm behind an 18-wheeler, and there's no reason to follow an 18-wheeler up the giant bridge. And this is the main road in and out, and this town has a bunch of like paper mills and plants and stuff. It's not just a tourist attraction. You might even be able to see logging trucks going past in the side, and they definitely make some noise and make for an interesting area of town here, but once we get around them, we'll be fine. All right, giving it some gas in fourth, going over 40. The owner did tell me the gas pedal is a little bit notchy, and I'm feeling that a bit, but it's just this car was off the road for a couple of years. And you know, there's little things that need to be done here and there when you have a car off the road for that long. And it was off the road because it needed transmission work. And so it was actually literally not drivable. It was on a lift. I know parts were on order, being rebuilt, all these things you can imagine. So looks like we've got the green light in front of me as we pass this little tiny Chevy Sonic thingy. And I'm hoping we can make the light and I can just hit the gas. Looks like we're good. About to enter the beginning stage of the bridge here. So curiously, I'm now going indicated 50, and it's about a little over 2,500 RPM. Red line in this car is 5,000. That was also set for the automatic. I don't know if they would have changed the red line in this car for a manual version of it. But of course there is traffic in front of me. So I'm going up the hill now onto the bridge over the intercoastal waterways. It's a pretty tall bridge because pretty big boats go up and down here. Sailboats, cruise ships, nothing like an ocean liner, but this is, oh yeah, this is fun. It's a little floaty, but it's controlled. It's not as floaty as like my town car would be. That's a bigger car, not necessarily a heavier car, but it's tuned a little differently. This is tuned a little bit more for handling. But the drawback of having those non-low profile tires is, of course, the handling is a little more compromised because you have that flex in the sidewall that gives you the cushier ride, but it also means you don't get the best handling compared to what it could be. For 1986, this was a good handling car. Absolutely was. You know, just a good driving car, and it would have worked really well on American roads, so American interstates just around town. There's a reason these sold well, even though at the time they kind of had a bad reputation for braking and they had a bad reputation for getting their parts. And I can remember even as a kid, family friends looking at these. I was a young boy when this was a new car, but I was alive, and I was obviously a car geek, so I was interested in this stuff. And they had a terrible reputation. You know, would be in the shop for 3 months waiting on a part, you know, to come from the UK. They just like had terrible distribution, it seemed, and terrible support of the product. Now, oh, that's a nice set. Yeah, a little. It's spinning up nice. Here's third. I'm told third is just a great gear. I didn't really get to experience it as much. All right, now we're climbing up on the bridge. Passing 50, 3,500 revs into fourth gear. I guarantee I am the only person in the state of Florida and possibly the East Coast driving a 4-speed manual 1986 Jaguar XJ6. Possibly the entire United States at this moment. Good stuff. I like it. I can see why he chose this of his many cars to drive down here on this trip. 600 some miles in an antique classic Jag. Yeah, you want the one with the manual. Very cool. This window down a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now, window was up a little bit. I put my arm out here properly. There's no fun cars coming to play with. There's logging trucks and a Passat or whatever that is, so we won't. But what I will do is third here. There we go. Yeah, oh, third is, yep, 25 miles an hour, and I'm in third, and it's the right gear. Very, very good. It's so tractable. Really is. Great job installing this transmission. If you have the opportunity to do so, do it. These 4-speed automatics from the 1980s are slow and boring. And this is a driver's car, let's be honest. It's a Jag. You're supposed to drive a Jag. You're not supposed to be driven in a Jag. You can have your packet of mustard in the back seat. Highly recommend it. But you gotta drive. Well, anyway, thanks y'all so much for watching. I think I've covered the car, and I think y'all have seen me drive it enough. I'm gonna head back to my house, drop this off, and go grab something to eat. So thanks y'all so much for watching Doug's Cars. I hope you liked the 4-speed manual Jag XJ6 Vanden Plan. I know I sure have. And keep watching Doug's Cars, because there'll be more fun stuff coming your way real soon. I just can't wait to see what I'll be driving next. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, y'all.